California has always lived in the imagination.
A place of sunlit coastlines, fertile valleys, crowded freeways, and quiet mountain towns, it promises reinvention to anyone willing to chase it. For decades, people arrived believing hard work would be rewarded with space, stability, and a home to call their own. Today, that promise feels strained. Headlines speak of million-dollar listings, rising insurance costs, and families priced out of neighborhoods they helped build. Yet beneath the anxiety, a quieter reality is forming, one that deserves attention. This documentary begins with a simple question. Is it still possible to live affordably in California without leaving the state behind? Recent housing data suggests the answer is not a simple yes or no, but a shift in geography, expectations, and lifestyle. While the statewide median home price remains near $900,000, price growth has slowed, inventories have increased in some regions, and buyers are approaching the market with caution rather than urgency. In that pause, opportunity has emerged.
During 2025, economic uncertainty shaped buyer behavior across California.
Mortgage rates hovered near 6%, inflation pressured household budgets, and insurance premiums climbed, especially in fire-prone regions. As a result, many potential buyers stepped back, choosing to rent or wait. Sellers, facing longer listing times, began adjusting expectations. In certain metropolitan areas, prices softened. In others, they stabilized rather than surged. The market did not collapse, but it exhaled. Affordability in California now depends less on timing and more on location. Coastal and Bay Area counties continue to command premium prices driven by income concentration and limited land. Inland regions, rural counties, and parts of the Central Valley tell a different story. Here, median home prices can fall hundreds of thousands of dollars below the state average.
These areas are not new, but they are newly relevant as buyers reassess what they truly need. This shift is not driven by desperation alone. Remote and hybrid work have loosened the tie between job location and home location for some households.
Others accept longer commutes in exchange for ownership.
Retirees seek quieter environments where fixed incomes stretch further.
First-time buyers, locked out of coastal markets, look inland for a realistic starting point.
Together, these groups are redefining demand.
But affordability is never free of compromise. Lower housing prices often reflect smaller job markets, fewer services, harsher climates, or geographic isolation. These are places shaped by agriculture, resource industries, and tight-knit communities rather than global finance or technology. Daily life moves differently. Entertainment options are limited. Distances are longer. Weather can be unforgiving. Yet for many, these trade-offs are outweighed by stability. Throughout this series, we will explore counties and cities where California housing remains attainable. We will look closely at Northern California communities with some of the lowest median prices in the state. We will travel through Central Valley cities that balance size, employment, and cost. We will examine inland areas near major metros where distance, not demand, keeps prices lower. At each stop, we will consider not only numbers, but atmosphere, environment, and lived experience. This is not a guide promising instant wealth or effortless living. It is an examination of reality in a state undergoing correction rather than collapse. California is still expensive, but it is no longer uniformly unreachable. In specific places, ownership remains possible, rents remain manageable, and daily life feels grounded instead of frantic. As this documentary opens, the goal is clarity. To replace assumptions with evidence. To look beyond reputation and focus on what is actually happening on the ground. The California dream has not disappeared. It has shifted, quietly, toward places willing to be patient, practical, and overlooked. Understanding affordability requires patience, honesty, and context. Numbers alone cannot describe daily routines, social ties, or long-term satisfaction. A cheaper home does not guarantee happiness, but it can restore choice. This chapter sets the foundation for what follows, grounding the journey in facts rather than fantasy. From this point forward, each location will be examined with the same lens, weighing cost, environment, opportunity, and trade-offs, so viewers can decide which version of California truly fits their lives today, tomorrow, and beyond for families, workers, retirees alike statewide. Northern California exists beyond the spotlight. It is a region defined less by rapid growth and more by endurance. Here, affordability survives not because demand is strong, but because life follows a different rhythm. Counties such as Trinity, Lassen, Siskiyou, Glen, Lake, Tehama, and Del Norte consistently report some of the lowest median home prices in California, with several hovering near the $250,000 range.
In a state known for extremes, these numbers feel almost out of place. Trinity County stands as the most affordable housing market in California. Surrounded by dense forests and winding rivers, it offers solitude rather than convenience. Homes here sell for prices that once seemed normal statewide. The landscape is dramatic, but daily life is quiet. Employment is limited, often tied to public services, forestry, or tourism. Residents accept long drives for healthcare, groceries, and specialized services. What they gain instead is ownership without crushing debt. Lassen County follows closely. Located in the state's far northeast, it is shaped by high desert terrain and long winters. Housing prices remain low because population growth is minimal and job opportunities are narrow. Ranching, government work, and local services dominate the economy. For buyers willing to accept isolation and climate extremes, Lassen offers entry into California homeownership at a cost unimaginable in urban markets. Siskiyou County blends affordability with natural grandeur. Mount Shasta anchors the region, drawing visitors and spiritual tourism while local residents maintain a slower pace of life. Median home prices remain under $300,000, reflecting steady but limited demand. The county benefits from its location along major transportation routes, yet remains insulated from speculative booms. For many buyers, Siskiyou represents a balance between scenery and cost. Del Norte County adds the Pacific Ocean to the equation. Its rugged coastline and redwood forests create a dramatic environment, but distance keeps prices low. Transportation costs are higher, and access to specialized care is limited. Still, median home prices remain well below the state average. Buyers drawn here value environment over amenities, and privacy over proximity. Glen, Lake, and Tehama counties complete the picture. These regions are deeply tied to agriculture and resource-based economies. Housing prices reflect steady local demand rather than outside investment. Insurance costs, wildfire risk, and infrastructure challenges influence buyer decisions, but prices remain accessible. In these counties, affordability is less about opportunity and more about sustainability. Northern California's affordability is not accidental. These markets avoided the intense price surges seen in coastal metros during the pandemic. When artificial demand faded, prices stabilized rather than collapsed. Inventory levels remain manageable, and competition among buyers is limited. Sellers price realistically, knowing demand is local rather than speculative. The trade-offs are clear. Job markets are smaller. Broadband access can be inconsistent. Social and cultural amenities are limited. Yet for retirees, remote workers, and buyers seeking space and autonomy, these regions offer something increasingly rare in California: predictability. Affordability here is not driven by discounts or downturns, but by lifestyle choice. Northern California asks residents to adapt rather than consume. In return, it offers ownership, land, and quiet. As housing markets elsewhere struggle to rebalance, these counties remain steady, grounded, and largely unchanged. This chapter reveals a fundamental truth. California's cheapest places are not hidden. They are simply distant from urgency. For those willing to live at the edge of the map, affordability still exists, waiting patiently where pressure has yet to arrive. The Central Valley represents the practical side of California. It is the region that feeds the state, moves its goods, and houses millions of people whose lives are shaped by work rather than spectacle. Stretching from north to south, the valley contains some of the most affordable cities in California, where housing prices remain far below the statewide median and daily life follows a grounded, working rhythm. Porterville sits near the southern edge of the valley and often ranks as one of the most affordable cities in the state. Median home prices remain in the mid-$300,000 range, while rents for a one-bedroom apartment can fall below $1,000. The city is surrounded by farmland and foothills, with local parks and nearby lakes shaping weekend life.
Employment centers on agriculture, education, healthcare, and local services. It is not fast growing, but it is stable. Tulare and Madera share similar profiles. Both cities are positioned near Fresno, giving residents access to larger employment hubs without paying Fresno prices. Housing costs remain relatively low, and neighborhoods feel residential rather than transient. Downtown areas, local museums, and community parks define daily routines. These cities appeal to families and first-time buyers looking for ownership without financial strain. Fresno stands as the Central Valley's largest and most complex city. With a population exceeding 400,000, it offers cultural districts, universities, healthcare systems, and entertainment venues rarely found in more affordable markets. Median home prices remain near $400,000, still dramatically lower than coastal California. Fresno's economy is diverse, providing more job opportunities than surrounding towns. Its location near Yosemite, Sequoia, and Kings Canyon National Parks adds environmental value that offsets urban challenges. Bakersfield reflects another side of affordability. As one of California's most affordable large cities, it combines size with accessibility. Median home prices remain well below the state average, and rents are comparatively modest. The city's economy includes agriculture, energy, logistics, and manufacturing. Parks, museums, and a growing arts scene contribute to quality of life, while surrounding farmland and nearby mountains create visual openness. Visalia and Merced complete the valley's affordable core. Visalia offers a mid-sized city experience with historic downtown streets, theaters, and local businesses. Merced, positioned between major valley hubs, benefits from educational institutions and infrastructure investment. Housing prices in both cities remain accessible, drawing buyers who want balance rather than extremes. The Central Valley's affordability is rooted in consistency. These cities did not experience the same speculative housing surges as coastal metros. When pandemic demand eased, prices stabilized instead of correcting sharply. Inventory remains available, and bidding wars are less common. Buyers approach the market with caution, but not fear. There are challenges. Summers are intensely hot. Air quality fluctuates. Public transportation is limited, and car dependency is high. Yet these conditions are familiar to residents who prioritize ownership and community over image. Commutes are shorter, neighborhoods are established, and social ties tend to be long-lasting. The Central Valley represents a version of California that continues to function regardless of headlines. It is not driven by hype, but by necessity. For many households, affordability here is not a compromise, but a calculation grounded in reality. In this region, owning a home remains possible without extraordinary income. The Central Valley shows that California's housing story is not uniform. Beneath the pressure of coastal markets lies a working landscape where stability still matters more than prestige, and where affordability quietly endures for families, workers, and long-term residents building lives without spectacle or excess today. Inland Northern California forms a bridge between affordability and access, offering cities that balance cost with opportunity rather than isolation. These communities sit beyond the coastal spotlight yet remain connected to regional economies, transportation corridors, and public institutions. Housing prices here reflect moderation, not extremes, making them attractive to buyers priced out of the Bay Area but unwilling to move too far from employment centers. Cities such as Yuba City, Stockton, Modesto, Merced, and Sacramento illustrate how location, infrastructure, and demand interact to create attainable housing markets within California's interior landscape where stability supports long-term planning for residents statewide. Yuba City represents suburban affordability with proximity to Sacramento's employment base. Median home prices remain significantly below the state average, while the city retains access to government, healthcare, and education jobs nearby. Residents experience quieter neighborhoods, riverfront parks, and community events rather than constant urban churn. Housing demand is steady but controlled, preventing dramatic price swings. For families and first-time buyers, Yuba City offers a practical alternative that trades nightlife and density for ownership, predictability, and manageable commuting distance. This balance appeals to households seeking security without abandoning regional economic access entirely or long-term community roots for stability. Stockton and Modesto illustrate how misunderstood cities can still offer value. Both experienced past volatility, yet housing prices remain accessible compared to coastal markets. Stockton's waterfront, arena, and downtown venues provide cultural anchors, while Modesto's historic districts and river parks support daily life. Employment spans logistics, healthcare, education, and public services. Buyers willing to look beyond reputation find inventory, space, and affordability. These cities continue rebuilding confidence through steady demand rather than speculative surges. Their affordability reflects resilience, not decline, in evolving regional housing patterns today for families prioritizing ownership and long-term stability over short-term speculation cycles statewide.
Merced demonstrates how strategic investment influences affordability. Positioned between Fresno and Modesto, it benefits from transportation access and educational institutions. Housing prices remain attainable because growth has been gradual rather than explosive. New residents arrive for schooling, healthcare, and local employment, supporting demand without overwhelming supply. Neighborhoods feel residential, not transient. For buyers seeking a smaller city with long-term potential, Merced offers stability shaped by planning rather than hype. Its affordability persists as infrastructure expands carefully and market pressures remain measured, allowing ownership opportunities for new households entering California housing markets without extreme bidding competition or volatility inland statewide. Sacramento occupies a unique position among affordable inland cities. As California's capital, it anchors government employment while supporting healthcare, education, and cultural sectors. Median home prices remain below $500,000, rare for a major metropolitan center. Historic neighborhoods, museums, and waterfront development add character without driving unchecked speculation. Demand is steady, not frantic. Sacramento appeals to buyers seeking urban amenities, career stability, and ownership without the price pressures found along the coast. This balance supports long-term residents and newcomers navigating a shifting housing landscape shaped by policy, employment security, and controlled regional growth rather than speculation cycles. Across inland Northern California, affordability reflects equilibrium between demand and supply. These cities avoided the dramatic pandemic surges seen in coastal metros, leaving prices less inflated. As interest rates rose and buyers hesitated, markets remained functional rather than frozen. Inventory levels allow choice without chaos. For households adapting to economic uncertainty, these regions provide predictability. Housing here is not cheap by national standards, but it is achievable within California's context. That context includes higher costs but also unmatched environmental and social diversity, which continues attracting residents seeking balance over extreme market pressure during periods of housing correction statewide today regionally. This chapter highlights California's middle ground, where affordability survives through moderation rather than sacrifice. Inland northern cities do not promise glamour, but they offer realism. Access to jobs, infrastructure, and services exists alongside manageable housing costs. For buyers navigating a cautious market, these locations provide options rooted in balance. As the documentary continues, these principles will repeat across regions, revealing that California's housing story is not singular, but layered, regional, and still open to those willing to look inward when affordability, stability, and long-term livability guide decisions beyond headlines, assumptions, and coastal market narratives that dominate public perception statewide. Southern California is often defined by its coastline, yet some of its most affordable housing markets exist far from the ocean, inland where distance reshapes demand. Cities like Lancaster represent a different version of Southern California, one where open land, extreme climate, and longer commutes keep prices within reach. These areas challenge the assumption that affordability cannot coexist with proximity to major metropolitan economies. Lancaster is located in the Antelope Valley, roughly 70 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. Median home prices remain under $500,000, dramatically lower than most Southern California markets. This affordability is driven primarily by geography. The desert environment, seasonal winds, and summer heat discourage speculative demand. Distance from coastal job centers further limits competition, even as employment access remains possible for those willing to commute or work remotely. Life in Lancaster feels expansive. Wide streets, large lots, and open skies define the landscape. Neighborhoods are less dense, and housing stock includes single-family homes that would be unattainable closer to Los Angeles.
Parks, preserves, and seasonal wildflower displays contribute to quality of life, offering natural beauty without urban congestion. Residents trade nightlife and cultural saturation for space, privacy, and ownership.
Employment patterns shape affordability here.
Many residents commute to Los Angeles County job centers, while others work locally in aerospace, logistics, healthcare, or education.
Remote and hybrid work arrangements have increased Lancaster's appeal, reducing the burden of daily travel. Still, transportation costs and time commitments remain central considerations for buyers evaluating long-term sustainability.
Housing demand in inland Southern California has remained steady rather than explosive. During the pandemic, some buyers sought larger homes farther from city centers, briefly increasing competition. As interest rates rose and commuting realities reasserted themselves, demand normalized. Prices stabilized instead of surging, preserving affordability relative to coastal markets. Inventory remains available, and bidding wars are less common than closer to Los Angeles. The desert climate plays a significant role in shaping daily life.
Summers are hot, winters cool, and weather extremes influence energy costs.
These factors contribute to lower housing demand, reinforcing affordability. Buyers willing to adapt to climate realities gain access to ownership without coastal premiums.
The environment demands preparation, but it also offers clarity. Life here is defined by planning rather than impulse.
Southern inland cities like Lancaster also reflect broader market dynamics. As insurance costs rise in fire-prone coastal and foothill areas, some buyers reconsider risk exposure. Inland desert regions, while not without hazards, present different insurance profiles. Combined with lower purchase prices, this influences long-term cost calculations for homeowners navigating uncertainty. Community identity in Lancaster is shaped by permanence. Many residents stay long-term, building social ties through schools, local events, and outdoor spaces.
Growth is present but controlled. Development expands gradually, preventing sudden price inflation.
This stability appeals to families seeking predictability rather than rapid appreciation.
Affordability here is not accidental.
It is maintained by distance, climate, and realistic demand.
Southern inland markets demonstrate how geography continues to influence housing outcomes even in a digitally connected economy.
While coastal Southern California remains financially out of reach for many, inland alternatives preserve access to the region without requiring complete relocation.
This chapter illustrates a key theme in California's housing landscape.
Affordability often exists not beyond the state, but beyond the coast.
Inland Southern California offers ownership opportunities shaped by compromise, resilience, and adaptation. For buyers willing to redefine convenience and accept environmental realities, these markets provide a viable path forward. As the documentary moves on, this balance between distance and opportunity will remain central to understanding where California housing remains attainable today and into the uncertain years ahead. Behind every affordable place in California lies a set of market forces quietly shaping outcomes. Housing prices do not exist in isolation. They respond to interest rates, insurance costs, employment confidence, inventory levels, and buyer psychology. In 2025 and early 2026, these forces combine to create what economists describe as a housing reset rather than a collapse. Understanding this context explains why certain regions remain affordable while others continue to struggle. Mortgage rates have been one of the most powerful influences. Throughout 2025, average 30-year fixed rates hovered near 6%. While buyers gradually adjusted to this level, higher monthly payments reduced purchasing power. Many households who qualified for larger loans in earlier years found themselves limited to smaller price ranges. This shift redirected demand toward lower-priced regions rather than eliminating it entirely. Insurance costs added another layer of pressure. In California, rising homeowners' insurance premiums, particularly in fire-prone areas, altered affordability calculations. Buyers now consider not only purchase price but long-term carrying costs. Inland valleys, northern counties, and desert regions often present lower insurance burdens compared to coastal hills and forested suburbs. This has quietly influenced migration patterns within the state. Inventory levels also played a critical role.
In high-income metros such as San Jose and San Diego, inventory increased as sellers competed for cautious buyers.
Price declines followed. In more affordable regions, inventory remained balanced.
Sellers priced realistically, and buyers moved deliberately. These markets avoided dramatic swings because demand never exceeded sustainable levels.
Economic uncertainty shaped behavior across the board.
Many potential buyers hesitated due to concerns about income stability, job security, and broader economic signals.
Real estate economists noted that buyers were not rejecting homeownership, but delaying commitment.
At the same time, renters benefited from softer rental markets in several western regions, reducing urgency to buy at any cost.
Some sellers responded by choosing to rent rather than sell.
This decision limited inventory growth in certain markets, especially where sellers were under less financial pressure. In affordable regions, this behavior was less pronounced. Lower purchase prices meant sellers were more willing to transact, keeping markets active rather than frozen. The concept of a 50-year mortgage briefly entered public discussion as a potential solution to affordability. While longer loan terms could reduce monthly payments, experts cautioned against increased lifetime interest costs and financial risk.
The idea highlighted a broader reality. Structural affordability challenges cannot be solved through financing alone.
They are rooted in supply, demand, and income alignment. In this environment, affordable California markets gained relative strength. They did not experience explosive appreciation during the pandemic, so they avoided severe correction. Their pricing reflected local wages rather than speculative investment.
As buyers became more cautious, these regions appeared safer, not riskier. Another defining factor was buyer fatigue.
After years of waiting for rates to drop further, many buyers grew tired of sitting on the sidelines. Those with stable employment began purchasing where prices felt reasonable rather than perfect. This behavior supported steady demand in lower-cost markets without reigniting bidding wars. The result of these combined forces is a fragmented housing landscape.
California is no longer moving as a single market. Each region responds differently based on exposure to risk, income concentration, and inventory dynamics. Affordability persists where pressure is lower and expectations are grounded.
This chapter underscores a critical truth.
Affordable housing in California is not a fluke or temporary anomaly. It is the outcome of economic realism. Regions that align housing costs with local conditions remain accessible even during uncertainty.
As long as interest rates, insurance costs, and employment confidence remain influential, these markets will continue to attract buyers seeking stability over speculation. Understanding these forces allows buyers to make informed decisions rather than emotional ones. Affordability is not about timing a perfect moment. It is about recognizing where market fundamentals support long-term sustainability. In California's evolving housing story, that recognition makes all the difference. As our journey through California's affordable housing markets concludes, a clear picture emerges. The Golden State is not a monolith of unaffordable luxury, but a complex mosaic of regions, each shaped by unique geography, history, and economics. From the Central Valley to northern inland counties, from southern desert cities to capital-adjacent suburbs, affordability exists, not everywhere, not for everyone, but in identifiable, accessible pockets where price, opportunity, and lifestyle converge. These affordable regions reveal a broader truth: owning a home in California is still possible, but it requires intentional choices. It means understanding trade-offs: distance versus access, climate versus price, density versus space. Cities like Porterville, Tulare, and Madera offer manageable prices and a slower pace of life, but require adjustment to smaller economies and limited entertainment options. Bakersfield and Visalia balance affordability with access to cultural and employment amenities. Stockton, Modesto, and Merced provide mid-sized urban experiences with neighborhoods that feel established, welcoming, and functional, while Yuba City and Citrus Heights offer proximity to Sacramento without the full weight of a metropolitan cost burden. Further south, Lancaster reminds buyers that distance from the coast can unlock significant value, though with longer commutes and desert climates to navigate. The forces shaping affordability are equally important. Interest rates, insurance costs, and market inventory are not abstract numbers, they influence daily decisions, household budgets, and long-term stability. The California housing market in 2025 and early 2026 has demonstrated that moderation and balance often protect affordability better than speculation or rapid expansion. Areas that avoided pandemic-driven booms now appear stable, while high-demand coastal markets correct sharply. For buyers, recognizing these dynamics is critical. Affordability is not accidental, it is structural, dependent on alignment between housing costs, income levels, and local economic realities.
Community and lifestyle also matter.
Affordable regions often offer opportunities that coastal metros cannot: larger homes, open skies, accessible parks, and a sense of permanence. Residents of these cities frequently experience stronger neighborhood cohesion, longer-term relationships, and a tangible connection to their surroundings. Sacramento, for example, pairs affordability with urban amenities, while smaller cities like Clovis, Yuba City, or Tulare provide quiet streets and community rhythm that foster long-term roots. These qualities, space, stability, and social capital, often exceed the material value of coastal luxury, yet they are harder to quantify in headlines or listings.
California's geography shapes its housing story more than most states. Mountains, deserts, valleys, and coastlines each carry costs and constraints that ripple through local real estate markets.
Inland valleys offer affordability at the expense of ocean proximity. Northern counties provide cooler climates and quiet neighborhoods but fewer major employers. Southern deserts give space and price relief but demand adaptation to heat and distance. Buyers seeking affordability navigate these landscapes with pragmatism, weighing trade-offs as much as they consider median sale prices or monthly mortgage payments. Despite challenges, the Golden State continues to attract newcomers because of opportunity, climate, and lifestyle. Affordable regions act as entry points into this broader world, places where first-time buyers, growing families, or career changers can establish roots, invest in property, and participate in California's social and economic fabric. For many, these cities are more than a stepping stone, they are a destination where life can be sustainable, vibrant, and fulfilling within financial realities. As this exploration closes, the key takeaway is clear: affordability in California is not a myth, nor is it evenly distributed. It requires awareness, research, and a willingness to engage with diverse environments, whether in desert plains, inland valleys, or northern rural counties. The narrative is not one of scarcity alone, but of choice, the ability to identify markets that balance housing costs with employment, amenities, and lifestyle needs. This balance, while nuanced, exists, offering hope and tangible opportunity for households navigating one of the nation's most challenging real estate landscapes.
California remains aspirational, yet within reach for those who approach the market strategically.
Knowledge of pricing trends, market dynamics, and regional differences empowers prospective homeowners to make informed decisions. Affordable cities provide the bridge between aspiration and reality, demonstrating that homeownership is attainable without surrendering safety, comfort, or a sense of belonging. The Golden State story, ultimately, is one of diversity, resilience, and possibility, an evolving tableau where affordability and ambition can coexist if buyers understand the landscape and act with insight, patience, and vision. In the end, California's most affordable places are more than real estate opportunities, they are living communities where people build lives. They remind us that homeownership is not just about property, it is about environment, economy, and experience.
And within these cities, families, professionals, and individuals continue to pursue the quintessential American dream, finding stability, hope, and belonging, proving that even in a state renowned for high prices, the dream of home remains alive, attainable, and deeply human.